it's a sensitive topic for me, obviously because of the tragic nature of it, but also because I've been involved in a number of helicopter flights in that exact same area. So I've seen both ends of it. The planes taking off and landing, having flown out of there, and I've flown up the Potomac many times in these helos, in these birds, and it never even occurred to me that this would happen. So here's how we're going to handle this. Number one, obviously we're going to do it responsibly. I got to tell you something right now. I love you all, the P1s and the listeners out there in the Bongino Army. You guys and ladies are the best in the business. And you know why? Because you never get ahead of yourselves. I'm on X this morning, and Michael and I were chatting about it before. I mean, a total show, and it rhymes with fit. What a mess. People are ready with 1,000 different theories. Why do we need to draw a conclusion? I don't understand why we need to do that. Not you, not you. I want to be absolutely clear, not you. I don't understand why we're not even 24 hours out and everyone has the need to jump on clicks on X to say, I definitely know what I promise you don't know what happened. I promise. It is okay to say that. It is also okay to ask questions. I have 5 open questions I want to get to. We'll play the footage we have. And the reason we're starting early is Donald Trump is going to speak, President Trump, excuse me, at 11 o'clock. And I want to take some of it live. We'll do our best to take as much of it as we can. So we got you all covered today. Stand by. Folks, increased tariffs on our trade partners, tax cuts, and regulation changes. Learn why gold is a viable diversification tactic now more than ever. The company I use, Birch Gold, is releasing its ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. To get your free copy along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold, text my name, Dan, to the number 989898. Here are the facts. The national debt continues to increase. Our interest payments on the national debt continue to increase. Gold is still one of your best hedges against a weakened dollar. And Birch Gold is still the company I trust to help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. So text Dan to 989898 for your free copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era. There's no obligation, only information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold. Text Dan to the number 989898 today. Message and data rates apply. You know what, guys? I'm going to skip the bell today. I don't usually do that, but given the tragic circumstances, that's usually more of a celebratory event for me starting the show, but I'm not. This is going to be deadly serious stuff today. So let me ask some open questions first. If you're just waking up, getting the news, maybe you're out on the West Coast, Reagan Airport, there was a flight. It was descending, getting ready to land. It was in what is unquestionably very congested airspace. There are a lot of programs, some I'm familiar with, we're obviously not going to be talking about, that involve tracking a lot of these incoming and outgoing aircraft. It's a very congested area. It is not a huge airport. It is a very tough place to land due to the congested space. Aircraft is landing. It is a flight from Wichita, Kansas. Gets into a collision with a Black Hawk helicopter on an Army training mission, according to what Secretary Hegseth said. It doesn't appear at this point that there are any survivors. It appears going to be close to 60 plus souls lost, which is horrific, obviously. So some open questions first, which we'll address, and we have some footage going on here too that we're going to get to, and footage of the crash, which, you know, I'll warn you, you may not want to see it, but it's important that we cover it accurately. Number one is these aircraft, not so much the helicopter, but the airplane involved. They have this crash avoidance system built in that if you've done anything with FAA, TRACON, TFRs, ADIS, FRIZs, air security picture stuff, which we do, you're pretty familiar with how this works. I'm not a pilot. I'm not the Wikipedia pilot. I don't pretend to be a pilot. Just telling you things we've dealt with, having dealt with the air security picture often. Was that off? When you get within a certain landing distance and a certain altitude, was it working? Is it off? Is it off automatically? Why didn't it go off? Was it, you know, when they get below 1,000 feet, as I saw a couple of people commenting this morning, was that crash avoidance system not working, or does it just go off? Were they below that certain altitude? So that'll be an open question, because obviously that's what this system is designed to avoid, a crash like what happened. Second, was it a case of target fixation, where sometimes you'll talk to these? I will never forget one of the White House military aides was a helicopter pilot. talked to me often about flying at night, how it was difficult for him to operate at night without night vision. Also talked about things like target fixation and things like that, crowded battlefields. The helicopter pilots, were they fixated on an aircraft taking off, and did they miss the one landing? That's a big miss. Obviously a tragic one. Were they fixated on the wrong target? Open question. Third question, was there night vision involved? Did it have anything to do with the closing of the visual field? I believe the night vision was available from what I'm hearing from early reports, but it's an open question because until I get a conclusive answer, I'm applying the Bongino rule here. Fourth is the obvious one. Just how did this happen flight path-wise? This is a known flight corridor that's very busy. How did this happen? Is it an altitude issue? Obviously, we're going to wait for some reporting on that. And then fifth, the uncomfortable question people have to ask. I see it as highly unlikely. I want to say that in advance, but it'd be irresponsible not to at least consider, was there a possibility that some of this was maybe not accidental? I just want to say in advance, given from what I've heard from a number of pretty good sources and some media homework I've been doing, that seems highly unlikely. However, applying the Bongino rule works both ways. Don't draw conclusions means don't draw conclusions. It doesn't mean don't ever ask a question ever for the rest of your life. Then what's the purpose of this show? So those are 5 open questions I have right now. Let's check out the VO, the voiceover. Sorry for using lingo. We'll talk over it. You can see the video here on the screen right now. You see it right there. Obviously, it's not the greatest video, but you can see the aircraft on descent into the runway. And then you'll see at the end, obviously, a flashing light. That's the crash between the helicopter and the plane. Plane lands in the Potomac. It apparently inverted at some point. It's in 3 pieces. Again, an unimaginable tragedy, and I use my words carefully. I have flown in and out of that airport so many times, as have many of you. It's nothing specific to me. I actually enjoy flying out of Reagan. It's very convenient. It's one of the reasons that D.C. lawmakers will do almost anything to keep that airport open and running. I don't know if you know this, but there was some significant talk after 9/11 about closing that airport because of its proximity. Now, it would be inappropriate completely for me to comment on these matters, but I think it's a matter of public information out there already. There are obviously programs to control and monitor the air traffic there because, ladies and gentlemen, you make one wrong turn, you're on top of the White House, the Washington Monument, and the Capitol like that. There is really very little time for contingency operations to take place. After 9/11, there was some talk about closing Reagan. However, the convenience of it, lawmakers use it. The talk about closing, it is now pretty much disappeared. The only talk now is how to expand it. So there is significant traffic that comes in and out of there. Secretary Hegseth issued a statement. Secretary Pete Hegseth, of course, Secretary of Defense. Aisha Hasni reported on the statement on her Twitter feed. She's a reporter from Fox. Quote, "This was an annual proficiency training flight. It was a fairly experienced crew that was doing a required annual night evaluation. They did have night vision goggles. We'll see if they were using them or not. That's why I'm going to leave that an open question. The 12th Aviation Battalion, as of now, was granted a 48-hour operational pause on contingency missions as what happened is reviewed." Obviously, Secretary Hegseth's a guy I trust. He's not going to lie to us. When we get some conclusions on what happens, I'm sure he'll be the one to tell us. Let me say as well, I have a lot of personal connections to the cabinet secretaries involved. They have been in office for less than a few days, including Secretary Hegseth, who just swore in. Secretary Duffy, Sean Duffy, former congressman, another close personal friend. I mean, obviously the father of Evita, it's just obvious, one of the hosts of our show here. So we have a lot of close personal ties. Secretary Duffy just swore in yesterday. So talk about, day one on a job. So his briefings have been as good as you can expect at this point, but he just got there. Dealing with this unimaginable tragedy. I want to play this. It's a clip from CNN. Disregard that it's CNN for a second. Sometimes on these matters, I just go to the commentators. This guy is a subject matter expert, a guy by the name of Pete Muntean. but this is a really, really informative clip where he's talking about, again, I'm trying not to talk about this like I'm some kind of like new Wikipedia pilot. I am not an expert on this. Let me say this in advance. I am not a pilot, but I have been on both of these aircraft, Blackhawks, and obviously just flying into Reagan many times. It's, if you've ever been on a Black Hawk, you'll notice right away that these helicopters are typically designed for air-to-ground missions. You know, they're not typically air-to-air. They're designed for air-to-ground missions, especially these. So when you look at the visual field of the helicopter, it's hard to see up, but relatively easy to see down. I want you to listen to this guy, Pete Montine on CNN, who explains pretty well. This clip's about 1:30, but it's worth your time, about if there was a visual obstruction, and this is just a catastrophic, we didn't see him and we crashed into each other, which we'll never know because it appears everybody's dead at this point. And the Black Hawk, from what I know, does not have a black box. Obviously, the aircraft does, the airplane. I want you to listen to how the visual obstruction may have played into this. Check this out.
If you can take me live for a second, I can sort of demonstrate with my hands what the crews were and were not able to see. And so the helicopter, the Black Hawk helicopter, appeared to be coming from the right of the commercial flight that was descending into runway 33. It's a particularly perilous situation for pilots because they can often not see very well below them, as helicopter crews are often looking at the ground, flying primarily in reference to the ground, especially in a very critical phase of flying as a crew is descending, making that final critical approach to landing. They are focused primarily on the runway and primarily on their instruments. They're not necessarily looking left and right, scanning for other traffic. This may be something where the crew simply just did not have the ability to see the helicopter and the situation unfolding in front of them. This is something that aviation experts have warned me about over and over since the start of 2023, when we saw these commercial flight near collisions take off in the United States. Many of them became under the watchful eye of the National Transportation Safety Board and were the result of very sweeping probes. Those situations never involved an actual collision. What we are seeing now is the result of the warnings.
It very much is the worst case scenario.
So there's a lot in that clip. Obviously, I would prefer you listening to experts who are actual transportation, aerial transportation experts, aviation experts on visuals and how it works, because it's not my specific area of expertise. But what he's saying there is accurate from someone who's flown on these many times. And in why I was in that area, I'll have to leave for another day. But I've flown up and down the Potomac many, many times on Blackhawks, many times. The visuals are not great, especially what he just described. Pilots looking at the ground, very difficult in the helicopter to see up. I'm not telling you that's what the reason is or the only reason. I'm just telling you should consider it. What he's saying there is not inaccurate. Also, at the end, there have been consistent problems with the FAA for a long time. The left's first impulse here, disgustingly, has been to politicize this. Let me just tell you in advance, it's a shame I have to cover this the way I will. We'll take President Trump when he's live in a few minutes. However, the media are disgusting. They're going to make cheap politics out of a situation that has been ongoing for a long time. I have to fight back. That is my job, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to let you be misled by communist media propaganda. Let me take a quick break. We started early today at 10:45. You want to listen to the show on demand, we'd appreciate it. Folks, here's why I trust Lean, and it's a real deal for weight loss. I used it. I lost about 30 pounds, as you can see if you watch my videos from about a year ago. It was created by a doctor and a researcher, and the clinical team behind Lean says if you have a few pounds to lose, non-prescription Lean, it's really not for you. You can just exercise a little more and clean up your diet. Lean's for frustrated dieters like I was, who have to lose meaningful weight but aren't into injections. I wasn't going to take those. They work, but they can carry side effects. Those shots can lower blood sugar and regulate appetite, but the science behind Lean is impressive too. It's natural, studied ingredients target weight loss in similar ways. I used it. The results speak for themselves. Lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar, control appetite and cravings, and helps you burn fat by converting fat to energy more efficiently. If If you're ready to lose weight in a smarter way, it's longer lasting, then let me get you started with 20% off your first order. Just use code DAN20, that's DAN20 at brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. That's code DAN20, DAN20 at brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. Great product. Can vouch. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA and not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease. It's not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare provider. Thank you, Lean. We appreciate it. Again, folks, we're Michael and Guy are keeping their eye on President Trump. When he speaks, we're going to try to take as much as we can of it live. We're probably not going to take the whole thing because it gets, sometimes he takes some questions at the end. This is a live stream, but a lot of people watch it on demand as well. I have to address this. It's sad, it's gross, it's disgusting. But folks, there is an impulse with our communist media, as always, as I said to you yesterday, especially with the liberal media, to lie, to mislead, to propagandize, to play dumb, or just in fact be dumb. The problems, I fly a lot. I wish I didn't, but I do. It's not something to brag about. It's not a badge of honor. However, just in the last 6 months, we have probably been on about 20 flights back and forth, which for me is a lot. We fly for business. We have family all over the country. I've got 4 or 5 flights scheduled in the next few weeks alone. We are constantly dealing with this. We flew out of Teterboro recently. We had a massive delay. Why? FAA. Why? FAA. Flight control. Why? FAA. These problems at the FAA have been going on a long time. In case liberal media people and the dumbass producers missed it, the guy in charge for the last 4 years, his name is Joe Biden. And his transportation secretary was not Sean Duffy, who was sworn in literally yesterday, okay? It was Pete Buttigieg, okay? Buttigieg, who seemed more focused on DEI over actually fixing the FAA. Did that have anything to do with this? I have absolutely no idea, and I'm not going to speculate. However, put up the Fox News piece if you would. This is a real problem. You can see it yourself. Look at the date, February of 2024. It's now almost February of 2025. Republican attorneys general warned the Biden administration of catastrophic consequences of the FAA pushing DEI over merit-based hiring. Again, did that have anything to do with this? I wouldn't dare say so this early because I apply my own Bongino rule. However, I find it fascinating that the dumbass people in the liberal media are already blaming Donald Trump or implying somehow Donald Trump, who's been in office, 10 days now, had anything to do with this flight disaster that happened yesterday. This is disgusting. Here is Mika Brzezinski doing what they do best, pushing propaganda and lying to people. Check this out.
Interesting, especially when you look at RFK and what the job is he's nominated for, or Kash Patel, or Pete Hegseth, who has gotten through. But you look at a situation like the breaking news that we're covering right now. Put the politics aside, it's the expertise that matters, and some are concerned about the expertise of these nominees. We'll be following those here.
Is this for real? Is that did that just happen? The former Department of Transportation secretary was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, a lovely city I love. But you're going to claim he had special expertise, unlike a multi-term congressman and lawyer who was a news commentator, a prosecutor, and who's been in the public eye dealing with these situations in Congress for years. You're really going to go there? That Pothole Pete was the pinnacle of expertise. Mika Brzezinski is a disgusting human being. Disgusting. She kissed Trump's ass to get back in the White House. This is why a president should never take a meeting with these idiots ever. She is a disgusting human being. Pothole Pete, and you're citing expertise over a Bronze Star winning military officer with an Ivy League education and Pete Hegseth, over Kash Patel, a DOD and DOJ trained professional, worked at the highest levels of the Trump White House, over Sean Duffy, a skilled lawyer, prosecutor, and multi-term congressman out of a swing state, and you're citing expertise? Are you shitting me, man? Ladies and gentlemen, however much you hate the media, you don't hate them enough. They deserve every ounce of this. This is why they suck. This is why nobody believes them. And whereas we can start this show fairly and say, yes, we're in charge now and we have to fix this. It's our job. Here are open questions. I don't have the answers. Notice how they've already drawn a conclusion. Disgusting. Here's CNN again. Implication here that somehow Donald Trump, although he's been in office 10 days, the left has done nothing but obstruct the nomination process to get people in there, is somehow blaming the nomination and confirmation process that they delayed, by the way, for not having people in. I mean, this is really just gross. Check this out.
Mary, I have one more question for you. Look, it's January 29th. We are just 9 days out from a presidential transition, an administrative transition. The FAA administrator resigned at the end of the Biden administration, so there is no permanent confirmed FAA administrator right now. This is going to be a time when there's going to be a lot of public communication, right, and a lot of investigation of what happened here. What do you anticipate this transition period is going to mean for what happens today and tomorrow and in the coming days as we find out what happened here?
Again, CNN and MSNBC, by implication, pretending the Biden administration wasn't in charge for 4 years with Pothole Pete at the DOT, Department of Transportation. Folks, these FAA problems have been known about forever. This is not new. Folks in the chat, and again, we started early today. Sorry to folks if you missed the beginning. Please watch the beginning of the show on demand where we cover some open questions, which I'm going to get to again as we wait for President Trump to speak. We're going to try to take as much as we can of it live. I don't want to steal from you any of the content you came here for. That's why we started early. I hope you all understand. Folks, if you fly, folks in the chat, confirm this story for me. You know for a fact there have been, since COVID, significant problems staffing the FAA. I'm telling you, I just flew out of New Jersey on a 3-4 hour delay not that long ago on a flight that shouldn't have had a delay. And the reason, clear skies and everything, staffing issues, FAA. It happens all the time. Now, Secretary Duffy is going to get it fixed. So is President Trump. But it's up to me to be honest with you and not BS you, okay? It's not going to happen overnight, folks. Joe Biden buried us in a 4-year hole. Secretary Pete, all of his losers in the Biden cabinet, they destroyed the Pentagon and elsewhere. It's not going to be rebuilt overnight. Secretary Duffy has been the secretary for barely, not even 24 hours yet. It's going to take a long time to unscrew. This is why, again, however much you hate the media, it's not enough. There's a lot going on today. We got Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard up on Capitol Hill. This is really one of those triage days where it's my responsibility to make sure I get to you everything in digestible nuggets. So just bear with me. I just want to end where I began about this tragic story over Reagan Airport in D.C. The crash avoidance system, what happened with it? Is it an altitude issue? Did it turn off automatically? Those are open questions I'm going to leave to aviation experts at this point. Was it a situation of target fixation where the pilot from the helicopter just did not see that specific aircraft? Because remember, there's another aircraft. You can see it all over the place, was taking off. Did they happen to see that? If they were flying with night vision, folks, if you ever used night vision, anyone in the chat, this is what I just find hard to believe, and I don't want to jump to any conclusions. Bongino rule definitely applies here. However, if you're flying with the night vision on, those lights on the plane are really, really, really bright. That's what night vision does. Depending on which specific version of it you're using, either one, it doesn't matter. The lights are, it's even harder to miss. Now, it does close off your visual field a little bit. Why were these flight paths intersecting? Was it an altitude issue? What was it? And again, was it an intentional act? Was it an accident? I strongly believe this was probably an accident. However, I'm not jumping to any conclusions on it. Okay, we're getting ready for President Trump to speak on it. However, there is a ton of breaking news today. Kash Patel is up on Capitol Hill right now. In case you all missed the open, the Democrats, of course, are doing what they always do. Are you a conspiracy theorist? Why did you appear on this show, that show, this show? Kash is doing just fine. I'm asking you a personal favor about this. We got Secretary Hegseth through. Secretary Duffy sailed through with no problem. I'm hoping it's soon to be Attorney General Pam Bondi sails through no problem. I don't see any issues there, but I need a favor from you and the Bongino Army. We're the most powerful force out there. We just are. The numbers don't lie. I need you to send a respectfully worded email if you could, please. Let me keep my eyes on it. To your senator, your home state senator today. I don't care if it's a Democrat or a Republican. And just say, we strongly support Kash Patel for FBI director. I'm telling you, he's the right guy, and I can prove it to you. Just go on X and look at the deep state liberal accounts hiding behind like phony avatars and everything, who are doing everything they can to keep Kash out of there. Ask yourself a question. Why? Okay? Always, always gauge the effectiveness of a cabinet appointee or a personnel decision, a law, a piece of legislation, whatever it may be, by how your enemies and the deep state liberal accounts pretending to be us, they absolutely hate Kash Patel and have sacrificed any human dignity to try to keep this guy out, because they know with certainty he is going to go and take those rocks and turn them over. Okay, folks, what a time to be alive. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. There was another hearing yesterday. It is really important to me, again, to triage the news cycle, so I give you all the news nuggets that are interesting, but we can't forget what happened yesterday either. Bobby Kennedy, who has been nominated to be Secretary of HHS, was up on Capitol Hill at a hearing. And there were a lot of things that happened up there that are important for us to understand the political environment of the time. This is an amazing time to be alive. Michael, you ever seen anything like this, where we're watching the role reversal of the two parties in live time? The Democrats previously claimed, it's important, to be the party of tolerance, the working man, coexistence, attacking big pharma. To watch this role reversal in live time, where the Democrats attack the working man, engage in full-blown lack of coexistence and tolerance by claiming, if you're white, if you're Jewish, if you're Asian, you're not one of us, you're white adjacent. But if you meet these criteria, I mean, the most racist people possible is the modern liberal, right? Have you ever seen a role reversal like this? Democrats attacking tech companies, supporting big pharma. I've never seen anything like this. And I don't use that term big pharma as a pejorative. They're just big companies. I know the Democrats do. Thank God we have pharmaceutical companies, that kept me alive after I got cancer, that have created modern medicine. Thank God. However, there are obviously issues with how they operate, and Bobby Kennedy's going to be looking into that. So I want you liberals out there who are watching my show, because I know you do, because this was important. I want you to tell me what is exactly is untrue, and be specific in my chat if you're there, like the Joe Ragu clown yesterday. Tell me exactly what you disagree with and what's untrue about what RFK said in his opening yesterday about why the hell is the richest country on earth so freaking unhealthy? What beef could you possibly have with this? Check this out.
I want to say something about what you first said. When I launched my campaign, it was about uniting Americans, Democrats and Republicans. There's no issue that should unite us more than this chronic health epidemic. There's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. These are our kids. 66% of them are damaged. I know what a healthy kid looks like because I had so many of them in my family. I didn't know anybody with a food allergy growing up, peanut allergy. Why do 5 of my kids have allergies? Why are we seeing these explosions in diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, neurological diseases, depression, all of these things that are related to toxics in the environment? Why can't we just agree with each other to put differences about so many issues, intractable issues aside, and say, we're going to end this? I don't think anybody is going to be able to do this like I have because of my peculiar experience, because I've litigated against these agencies. When you litigate against them, you get a PhD in corporate capture and how to unravel it.
What do you disagree with there? What? I'm not suggesting that me and RFK was a Democrat, and I share very little in common with him on his past with environmentalism, which I believe is used as a proxy. I've come into this with an open mind, however. What did RFK say there you disagree with? Folks, listen, I'm not here to give you sob stories, but I was a really ridiculously unhealthy kid. I was. You don't need my life story because I'm not going to bore you to death. However, you name some malady, I had it. Asthma, eczema, whatever it was. I went through a lot growing up. Who really cares? I was told by, medical professionals, I'm not knocking doctors or anything like that in stereotypes, but it's true. Oh, it's this, it's that. He needs to put cortisone on, or he needs to stop eating this and stop eating that. Folks, I largely disregarded that and started doing this crazy thing called eating healthy. Eating homegrown stuff, eating meats and vegetables and healthy fats. And I'm going to tell you something. The advice I got about cortisone and all this other stuff, I'm just telling you for me, I'm not your doctor, do not take medical advice from me, was wrong. I started cleaning my skin with got the staph out from under the fingernails, and I never had to deal with any of these problems ever again. I have not, thank God, thank you, Jesus, and I'm not using his name in vain. I have not had an asthma attack in 30 years. I am taking no medication for it at all. I don't even have one of those inhalers anymore. I probably should in case there's but I don't. Probably not. I don't because I'm just so not used to it anymore. What is going on here? If all the standard nutrition and medical advice of the day we used to get, eat rice cakes, was so accurate, then why are we so unhealthy? Why? You don't want a guy at Health and Human Health. The HHS liberal stands for Health and Human Services. Asking questions about health and human services? What is your beef with this guy? And to the Democrat frauds, whereas us Republicans out there, especially, thank you, Anita, for putting up how to email your senators in the chat there. For those in our chat and elsewhere, and the liberals listening to the show, most of my listeners can get past the fact that RFK has a political past they don't necessarily agree with because we are outcome-based. And if RFK is going to HHS to answer these questions, like why we're so unhealthy, my listeners are like, that sounds like a good outcome for me. Why can't Democrats do the same? Democrats loved RFK forever until RFK said, I think Donald Trump is a better guy to make America healthy again. And then what happened? These fake, phony frauds were like, that guy's Hitler, fascist, a Nazi. It shows you one side stands on principle and outcomes while the other side is completely full of crap. Here, check out RFK and why the Democrats all of a sudden can't stand them. Check this out.
And all these Democrats are opposed to me for partisan issues. They used to be my friends. Agreed with me on all the environmental issues that I've been working on for my whole career. Now they're against me because anything that President Trump does, any decision he makes, has to be lampooned, derided, discredited, marginalized, vilified.
Folks, this is I've discussed this often on the show. It's the Dan Bongino show your ass theory, okay? What does that mean? I haven't brought it up in a while. It's this impulse amongst Democrats, and Michael said it right. This is politician Democrats. The average rank and file Democrat still loves RFK, okay? This is how detached these people are on Capitol Hill from reality and these bureaucrats and bureaucratic class out there. The show your ass theory is this. The Democrats, to show allegiance to their donors and the crazy class which finance the party, one guy will say, Trump's a racist. The other guy who then doesn't get a donation because he didn't say it harsh enough, the other guy will go, well, that didn't raise money. So I learned from this guy, I'm going to say something worse. No, he's a Nazi. And it's like, oh, I got a donation. And the other guy's saying, well, donors are like, you got to up the ante. So they all have to show their ass and say increasingly crazy things. This is how you get to the point where RFK, a career Democrat, who Trump is approaching this as some kind of team of former rivals approach, but people who are loyal this time. This is why Democrats discredit themselves in the eyes of the public. Here's another clip from yesterday. Folks, this Make America Healthy Again thing is, listen, can I talk to you straight? Yesterday's hearing is one of the most important things If you can watch it in total, I recommend you do, even in lieu of my own show. Folks, I'm a guy who's been through a lot. Cancer, horrible childhood nonsense, 19 orthopedic surgeries so far. I've not been a healthy guy my whole life. I'm saying this seriously. I don't mean this isn't clown show time. Don't mistake a lot of the show muscles and all this stuff. I've been through a lot. My body is pretty broken down. If you're not healthy, you have nothing. You do not want to look your kids in the face like I had at one time and say, kids, your father has cancer, and have no, you don't. This is serious, literal life or death stuff. And Bobby Kennedy is asking questions that we should all be asking, absolutely regardless of your political ideology. Here's another clip right here, asking again, simple questions. How are we the richest country on earth and we're plagued with diabetes and all these other problems? Are we poisoning ourselves? Seems like we are. Listen to this.
The same chemicals that kill fish make people sick also. Today, Americans' overall health is in grievous condition. Over 70% of adults and a third of children are overweight or obese. Diabetes is 10 times more prevalent than it was during the 1960s. Cancer among young people is rising by 1 or 2% a year. Autoimmune diseases, neurodevelopmental disorders, Alzheimer's, asthma, ADHD, depression, addiction, and a host of other physical and mental health conditions are all on the rise, some of them exponentially. The United States has worse health than any other developed nation, yet we spend more on health care, at least double, and in some cases triple, as other countries. Last year, we spent $4.8 trillion, not counting the indirect costs of missed work. That's almost a fifth of GDP. It's tantamount to a 20% tax on the entire economy.
All right, President Trump's getting ready to come out and speak. I want to address some of what RFK said. So we're going to take some of this live. You guys okay, let me see if I can. Can you get me to hear it too? I want to hear what he has to say. Okay.
A moment of silence for the victims and their families, please. Thank you very much. I speak to you this morning in an hour of anguish for our nation. Just before 9 p.m. last night, an American Airlines regional jet carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew collided with an Army Black Hawk helicopter carrying 3 military service members over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., while on final approach to Reagan National Airport. Both aircraft crashed instantly and were immediately submerged into the icy waters of the Potomac. Real tragedy. The massive search and rescue mission was underway throughout the night, leveraging every asset at our disposal. And I have to say, the local, state, federal, military, including the United States Coast Guard in particular, they've done a phenomenal job. So quick, so fast. It was mobilized immediately. The work has now shifted to a recovery mission. Sadly, there are no survivors. This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital and in our nation's history, and a tragedy of terrible proportions. As one nation, we grieve for every precious soul that has been taken from us so suddenly. And we are a country of, really, we are in mourning. This is really shaken a lot of people, including people, very sadly, from other nations who were on the flight. For the family members back in Wichita, Kansas, here in Washington, D.C., and throughout the United States and in Russia, we have a Russia contingent, some very talented people, unfortunately, were on that plane. Very, very, very sorry about that. Whose loved ones were aboard the passenger jet. We can only begin to imagine the agony that you're all feeling. Nothing worse. On behalf of the First Lady, myself, and 340 million Americans, our hearts are shattered alongside yours, and our prayers are with you now and in the days to come. We'll be working very, very diligently in the days to come. We're here for you to wipe away the tears and to offer you our devotion, our love, and our support. There's great support. In moments like this, the differences between Americans fade to nothing compared to the bonds of affection and loyalty that unite us all, both as Americans and even as nations. We are one family, and today we are all heartbroken. We're all searching for answers. That icy Potomac, it was a cold, cold night, cold water. We're all overcome with the grief for many who have so tragically perished, will no longer be with us. Together we take solace in the knowledge that their journey ended not in the cold waters of the Potomac, but in the warm embrace of a loving God. We do not know what led to this crash, but we have some very strong opinions and ideas, and I think we'll probably state those opinions now. Because over the years I've watched as things like this happen, and they say, well, we're always investigating, and then the investigation 3 years later, they announce it. We think we have some pretty good ideas. But we'll find out how this disaster occurred, and we'll ensure that nothing like this ever happens again. The FAA and the NTSB and the U.S. military will be carrying out a systematic and comprehensive investigation. Our new Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, his second day on the job when that happened. It's a rough one. We'll be working tirelessly. He's a great gentleman. The whole group these are great people, and they are working tirelessly to figure out exactly what happened. We will state certain opinions, however. I'm also immediately appointing an acting commissioner to the FAA, Christopher Rocheleau, a 22-year veteran of the agency, highly respected. Christopher, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We must have only the highest standards for those who work in our aviation system. I changed the Obama standards from very mediocre at best to extraordinary. You remember that. Only the highest aptitude, they have to be the highest intellect and psychologically superior people were allowed to qualify for air traffic controllers. That was not so prior to getting there. When I arrived in 2016, I made that change very early on because I always felt this was a job that, and other jobs too, but this was a job that had to be superior intelligence. And we didn't really have that, and we had it. And then when I left office and Biden took over, he changed them back to lower than ever before. I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. And they put politics at a level that nobody's ever seen, because this was the lowest level. Their policy was horrible, and their politics was even worse. So as you know, last week, long before the crash, I signed an executive order restoring our highest standards for air traffic controllers and other important jobs throughout the country. So it was very interesting. About a week ago, almost upon entering office, I signed something last week that was an executive order, very powerful, on restoring the highest standards of air traffic controllers and others, by the way. Then my administration will set the highest possible bar for aviation safety. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent, the word talent. You have to be talented, naturally talented geniuses. You can't have regular people doing that job. They won't be able to do it. But we'll restore faith in American air travel. I'll have more to say about that. I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them. They can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was in January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration. This was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that are, I mean, actually, their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened because of the stress, where you have many, many planes coming into one target, and you need a very special talent and a very special genius to be able to do it. Targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little spot, a little dot on the map, a little runway. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan. Think of that. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite. The FAA website shows that the agency's guidance on diversity hiring were last updated on March 23rd of 22. They wanted to make it even more so. And then I came in, and I assume maybe this is the reason. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run the Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good line of bullshit. The Department of Transportation is government agency charged with regulating civil aviation. Well, he runs it, 45,000 people, and he's run it right into the ground with his diversity. So I had to say that it's terrible. Then it's a group within the FAA, another story, determined that the workforce was too white, that they had concerted efforts to get the administration to change that and to change it immediately. This was in the Obama administration just prior to my getting there. And we took care of African Americans, Hispanic Americans. We took care of everybody at levels that nobody's ever seen before. It's one of the reasons I won. But they actually came out with a directive, too white. And we want the people that are competent. But now we mourn and we pray, and would like to ask all Americans to join me in a moment of silence as we ask God to watch over those who have lost their lives and bring comfort to the loved ones. And I just want to say God bless everyone in this room. This has been a terrible, very short period of time. We'll get to the bottom of it. So we all saw the same thing. We've seen it many times. I've had the honor of hearing tapes. Tapes are scary, very scary tapes. You had a airliner coming in, American Airlines. He was doing everything right. He was on track. He was the same track as everybody else. They came in. It's probably the same track as they've had for 25 years or more. He's coming in the path. And for some reason, he had a helicopter that was at the same height, obviously when they hit, but pretty much the same height, and going at an angle that was unbelievably bad. When the air traffic controller said, "Do you see?" He was talking about, "Do you see him?" But there was very little time left when that was stated. And then also he said, "Follow him in." And then almost immediately after that, seconds after that, there was the crash that took place. Well, you follow him in. That means like everything's fine. Follow him in. You had a pilot problem from the standpoint of the helicopter. I mean, because it was visual. It was a very clear night. It was cold, but clear, and clear as you could be. The American Airlines plane had lights blazing. They had all of their landing lights on. I could see it from the Kennedy Center tape. We had a tape up on the Kennedy Center. That seems to be the primary. Thus far, I'm sure we'll see other tapes because it's such an area where there are a lot of cameras looking up into the air, into space. So we'll probably see many other shots of it before too much time goes by. But we had a situation where you had a helicopter that had the ability to stop. I have helicopters. You can stop a helicopter very quickly. It had the ability to go up or down. It had the ability to turn. And the turn it made was not the correct turn, obviously. It did somewhat the opposite of what it was told. We don't know that would have been the difference because the timing was so tight. It was so little. There was so little time to think. But what you did have is you had vision. The helicopter had vision of the plane because you had vision of it all the way, perfect vision of it all the way from at Kennedy Center where the tape was taken. And for some reason, there weren't adjustments made. Again, you could have slowed down the helicopter substantially. You could have stopped the helicopter. You could have gone up. You could have gone down. You could have gone straight up, straight down. You could have turned. You could have done a million different maneuvers. For some reason, it just kept going and then made a slight turn at the very end. And by that time, it was too late. They shouldn't have been at the same height. Because if it was at the same height, you could have gone under it or over it, and nobody realized, or they didn't say that it's at the same height. At the same height, it still wouldn't have been great, but you would have missed it by quite a bit. Could have been 1,000 feet higher. It could have been 200 feet lower, but it was exactly at the same height, and somebody should have been able to point that out. So all of this is going to be studied, but it just seems to me from couple of words that I like to use, the words common sense. Some really bad things happened, and some things happened that shouldn't have happened. So you had a helicopter going in an identical direction. You had a helicopter that was at the exact same height as somebody going in essentially the opposite direction. You had a plane that was following a track, which is a track that every other plane followed. And I don't imagine, I know I've heard today that they might have been following the preceding plane, which was pretty close, but not that close, the preceding plane. But you wouldn't have even been able to see that because of the direction that the helicopter was coming in at. So you had a confluence of bad decisions that were made. And you have people that lost their lives, violently lost their lives. We're going to take a few questions. I'd like to ask our new Secretary of Transportation to say a few words, Sean Duffy.
All right, folks. I took as much of Donald Trump's statement. There's going to be some Q&A. Obviously, you're free to watch it. You're free to watch the rest of it. I just want to make sure we got Donald Trump's statement in there because there were a couple of takeaways from there where I would be remiss if I did not repeat them because they were important. Number one, he's appointing immediately an acting FAA commissioner. Obviously a good idea right now, given that the FAA commissioner under Pete Buttigieg and the Biden administration had since resigned. That's big news. He emphasized, I saw some of you in the chat disagree. Again, I don't. I have no problem with Trump's communication style. I'm from Queens, New York, like he is. Some of you do, fair enough. Some of you thought that maybe he should have been a little bit more emotional. Fair enough. I'm just telling you that transactional Donald Trump is always transactional Donald Trump. And he keeps reemphasizing and saying this over and over about how this doesn't make sense, common sense, how this aircraft and this aircraft were in the exact same altitude, because he doesn't get it as a transactional guy. How the hell did this happen? And that's what he's asking his people. He just happens to air that. That's just how he is and how he communicates. And I think another takeaway, if you saw me taking notes during it, was his mention of the fact we got Secretary Duffy up there taking some questions now as well, of tapes. He says he's seen or heard some tapes. He wasn't really specific. He said he saw the Kennedy Center tapes, but he also, I think, mentioned at some point, I've seen or heard these tapes. I'm assuming he's talking about air traffic control. My guess is he knows something about the FAA stuff. And again, if the media is going to politicize this right away and blame Donald Trump as a transactional guy, he's going to say, well, here's the problems I'm trying to fix. I don't have an issue with it. I know some of you may, and that's fair enough. But I don't have any issue with it at all. Want a transactional guy in there. I want to solve this problem. This has been a major disaster, and we need some answers, and I believe he's the guy to get them, along with Secretary Duffy. All right, quick break. We're going to get back to some more of the show that I have prepared for you, because some important things happened yesterday as well. You know, seeing my dad over the holidays was really special. We're all gathered around the table, talking, sharing some stories, talking about our time at Yankee games growing up. But, you know, that was a while. Millions of Americans over the age of 65 started to lose their hearing, including my father. So it's hard to hear, especially in a loud room for him. My father was one of them. So I gave him some MD hearing aids. And let me tell you, they are a game changer. The year was completely different. Everything's engaging with him now. He hears better, especially in groups of people. MD hearing really brought the family conversations back to life. This podcast is brought to you by MD Hearing, FDA registered rechargeable. They're FDA registered and rechargeable. You won't even know they're there. They fit right inside your ear. Plus, MD Hearing just launched their smallest model yet, the Neo XS. Try it out. Get the high quality, affordable hearing aids you deserve with MD Hearing. Go to shopmdhearing.com. Use promo code PATRIOT. You get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. Plus, they're adding a free extra charging case, a $100 value just for my listeners. That's shopmdhearing.com. Use our promo code PATRIOT and get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. And last spot, and we got some more content for you today, we put together. Folks, Genucel, here's a story for you. A lady named Phyllis walks into a pharmacy in New Jersey and asks the pharmacist for an antioxidant cream for her wrinkles. Pharmacist says, I'll compound one for you. Come back tomorrow. Phyllis uses the cream for 3 days, goes to her dermatologist appointment. And the doctor, just looking at her skin, thinks she has work done. Phyllis tells everyone about the pharmacy and the pharmacist who makes the magical cream. And that's, believe it or not, how Genucel Skincare was born. Genucel. Genucel is the official skincare Bongino family and the rest of the Bongino Army celebrating 25 years. Genucel is offering the best pricing since Phyllis walked into George's Pharmacy. And just in time for Valentine's Day, save over 70% off Genucel's complete skincare package, featuring the Genucel under eye bags and puffiness serum, jawline sculpting treatment, and immediate effects for results in minutes. Look 5, 10, even 15 years younger. And that's a resolution you can keep. Genucel.com/Dan, GENUCEL.com/Dan. Every package order includes a full-size jar of the spa-quality microdermabrasion treatment, absolutely free. Every order is upgraded to free priority shipping. That's Genucel.com/Dan, Genucel.com/Dan. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We appreciate it. Let's get back to the show. So a couple of other things happened yesterday during the hearing as well. This use of the pejorative conspiracy theorist to reference Bobby Kennedy. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to disregard that completely. It is nothing but a slap in the face designed to discredit a guy who has asked some questions. Some questions he's been right about, some he may be wrong about. We'll see. But Bobby Kennedy addressed this yesterday, and this is exactly how you answer this question. Check this out. Yeah, that's right.
You a conspiracy theorist?
That is a pejorative, Senator, that's applied to me, mainly to keep me from asking difficult questions of powerful interests. I was told that I was a conspiracy theorist. That label was applied to me because I said that the vaccines, the COVID vaccine, didn't prevent transmission and it wouldn't prevent infection, when the government was telling people, Americans, that it would. I was saying that because I was looking at the monkey studies in May of 2020. I was called a conspiracy. Now everybody admits it. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said red dye caused cancer. and now FDA has acknowledged that and banned it. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said fluoride lowered IQ. Last week, JAMA published a meta-review of 87 studies saying that there's a direct inverse correlation between IQ loss.
All right, so I'm going to assume
I could go on for about a week.
Folks, that's exactly how you answer that question every single time. Are you a conspiracy theorist? Well, tell me which one of these is a conspiracy, number one, and which one's theoretical, because I seem to have been accurate about all of these. Here's another one. It's my last one from the HHS hearing yesterday. Folks, if we can't make America healthy again, we're not going to have much of a country. If we don't have a healthy country that can defend itself, we don't have a country. We have a suggestion of one. You should never fall prey to this. I want to hat tip Rand Paul last night, who was on the Ingram angle on Fox. And for the first time ever that I've heard, I'm not saying it hasn't happened, answered this question the right way, which Senator Paul always does. Folks, when you talk about healthcare as a right, a capital R right, you are creating an obligation for someone else. We are a country of negative rights. In other words, what the government, the Constitution is what the government can't do to you. Can't invade your home, take your private property, can't take your business papers. It can't infringe on your free speech. We are our governing documents are largely documents of negative rights, what the government can't do to you to take away your rights. To declare something a positive right, that the government has the right to declare healthcare right, creates an obligation for someone else. Rand Paul knocked it out of the park last night on the Ingram angle on this. I've spoken about this 1,000 times. Bernie Sanders does this all the time. He did it to Bobby Kennedy yesterday. Folks, healthcare is not a right, and we should be clear about that. It is an obligation for us as a moral people to find a way to get good quality healthcare. Declaring it a right legally, a big all right, that's what that is, means you can walk into a doctor's office ahead of everyone else and, I'm here to declare my right. Is that what you want? This is how you turn around. He asked Bobby Kennedy this yesterday. They do this all the time. Check this out.
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question.
Healthcare a human right? Is healthcare a human right?
In the way that free speech is a human right,
yeah.
I would say it's different because with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now taking from the pool. Well, and so are you guaranteed the same right, or is there also a duty?
I'm sorry. I'd love to talk for an hour with you. We got a few minutes left here. All right. Every other country on earth says healthcare, whether you're poor or rich, young or old, is a human right. I'm not hearing you say that.
All right, folks, given all that's going on today, I think it's important that we covered what happened at the HHS hearing yesterday. If you're not healthy, there's no point in having a show because you're not going to be here to listen to it, and I'm not going to be here to broadcast it. I thought Bobby Kennedy did a fine job. I hope his confirmation process is not derailed. But again, they're going to ask you that question all the time. When someone asks you if something is a right, you should ask them, have you thought about the obligations that confer on other people when you declare things rights? Because the communists did that all the time, and people starved to death, millions of people, when they declared other people's food their right. The contrast between Karine Jean-Pierre and what we saw yesterday at the White House briefing with Caroline Leavitt, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the sharpest I've seen in the history of White House spokespeople. What a briefing yesterday. America's in a new direction right now, and there are political lessons here. But there was a lot yesterday. The drone answer, a whole bunch of stuff came out. Got a ton of questions on that. Big show today. Hey, I count on Dream Powder to help me wind down, wake up, refreshed, and energized. It's made right here in America. Go to shopbeam.com/Bongino. Use code Bongino for 47% off your first order. You get it? 47%. Hey, by the way, also, today's show brought to you by Field of Greens, one of my favorite supplements. You resolved to get healthier this year. Great. How do you do it? Supplements? Well, a lot of those green fruit and vegetable powders, they're crap. They're a bunch of extracts. Who knows how long this stuff's sitting around? Has it been fresh? Is it fresh? You don't know. Was it doctor selected? Field of Greens is different. You know why? They make a better health promise. Makes it radically different. Listen to this. Enjoy a delicious Field of Greens drink every day. Just put a scoop, wild berry, lemon, lime, whatever it is, in your favorite drink. Put in water if you want. Doesn't matter. It tastes good. And your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back. You can't beat that. How in the world can Field of Greens promise better health? Because each fruit and vegetable was doctor selected for a specific health benefit. There's a heart health group, lung and kidney groups, metabolism, even healthy weight. 1 drink a day is all it takes. I take 2, your call. You look and feel healthier with more energy fast. Even your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back. I showed you my blood work. That's legit. Get 20% off your first order with code Dan at brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. That's code Dan at brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. All right, fellas, let's go. Snapshots and soundbites. Again, I'm sorry to say this in advance, but I'm still in the end stages of the inauguration crud. Please forgive me for the unintended sound effects. I know, I get it. I hear you. There's nothing I can do. I choose not to have a cough button because it'll interrupt the show, and sometimes people cough. My call, maybe it's not the greatest call in the world, but it's just how I choose to run my show. So, snapshots, sound bites, and contrasts. These are really important we understand this. Midterms are not that far away. I want to get out ahead of myself, but they really aren't in the context of political life. Snapshots and sound bites. Short sound bites and pictures are what determine what political narratives are going to be. Most people are not reading white papers because they're busy and they're working for a living. But contrasts matter too. What a contrast at the press podium yesterday between Karine Jean-Pierre and now. I wanted to remind you over the last 2.5 years after Jen Psaki, what we had to deal with in the White House with this absolutely incompetent buffoon in Karine Jean-Pierre who could not answer a question without saying, call someone else or have to refer to the binder. Do you remember this? This is just a brief reminder of the nonsense we had to tolerate for 2.5 years from the worst press secretary in U.S. history. Check this out.
The president loves his son. He is proud of how his son is rebuilding his life. And as far as anything specific about any investigation, any criminal investigation, we just are going to be consistent and just not comment.
It's been a devastation as we have seen. You've just mentioned the president was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add. Senator Horino, who I said the president spoke to just last night, he thanked the president for the immediate support of federal agencies have delivered for residents of Hawaii. And so has Senator Schatz.
There's the NORAD is part of like it's a what you call a coalition, a consortium,
a pact of nations.
A pact,
okay.
Exactly. And so that's why we were able to do that. It clearly in step with Canada.
Okay, so today, as you all saw just an hour or so ago, President Obama announced that, President Biden. Whoa! That is news. I don't have anything. 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 I just don't have anything. I don't have anything. We don't have anything. I just don't have anything. Don't have anything. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I just don't have anything. I don't have anything.
Folks. The chat, my lungs still hurt. The chat is just tearing it up right now. We had to deal with this for 2.5 years. Peak incompetence. Now, yesterday, you get Caroline Levitt. I want you to keep in mind, Caroline Levitt, guys, can you look this up for me? How old is Caroline Levitt? The chat is just going. How much? She's not even 30 years old. She's not even 30 years old. Comes out yesterday. Now, folks in the chat, you know this, right? Your first time at anything, when it involves something of such prominence, like being the White House press spokesperson, where the whole world is watching, your first time, let's be honest, is nerve-wracking. I don't want to wear you out with stupid stories, but the first time Fox News asked me to fill in for Hannity on his show at night, folks, I got to tell you, I had never been nervous about anything in my life in the media. I hadn't. I'm not bullshit yet, except that. And you know when it hit me? I had guest hosted his radio show, and I walk across, it's right across the street, the Fox studio from where he does radio. So I'm walking across the street, and you know, there's the big Fox, the electric sign that goes out in front and all this in this big building. And I've been going in there for years, no problem. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, tonight at 9 o'clock, that camera's going live. And I'm carrying this network's premiere show. Like, I better not this thing up. You know what I mean? It was the first time, I got to tell you, I was a little bit nervous on the air. The first 5 minutes or so, I had a tie on, which was a stupid move. because I felt like I was like suffocating because I never wore ties on the air. It's freaking hard. This young 27-year-old woman just went out in front of the whole world and just tore it to pieces. No binder, a couple of sheets of paper, and that was it. Man, she's got skills. So let's get to it, because this is not just about contrast and presentation. That's important because there are political lessons going forward. That the best we can do is to create snapshot and soundbite moments, but also to field personnel and candidates that perfectly contrast. And my gosh, what a difference from this loser we had in the past. So refreshing to see honest answers like this from the podium. And candid, extemporaneous answers, which doesn't have to think, oh, hold on, let me leaf through the binder. Let me go to B for border. She's asked a question about, hey, man, you guys are deporting a lot of these people, and some of them don't have criminal records. And Caroline Levitt shuts that right down. If you entered the country illegally, you have a criminal record because you entered the country illegally. I have been waiting for someone to give this answer forever. Applause line, Caroline Levitt. Check this out.
3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office. Can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
Folks, that is a fact. And now I see a bunch of people. I'm going to prepare you now. Are you all ready for debunking? Folks, we're going to have to be doing this now for 4 years. We're going to have to instantly do what we did with the fake bloodbath hoax. We are the media now. We are the media now. One more time. What has two thumbs and is the media now? This guy and you. You guys got a screenshot of that? Man, if you're listening on Apple and Spotify, 9 minutes and 40 seconds in, you better look at that. That was the quintuple-barreled middle finger, the sextuple-barreled middle finger. We're the media now. We have to take charge. I say that because the minute she said that, a bunch of liberal bags on Twitter were like, well, technically it's a civil penalty to be in the United States illegally. Correct. However, it is not a civil penalty to evade border officials and enter the country illegally. Do you get the difference? You see how the nitpickers pick nits? They go, well, Caroline Levitt's not exactly accurate. Being here illegally or being here without the proper paperwork is a civil violation. Crossing the border illegally is a crime. That's what she's talking about. How do you think they got here? You think they were airdropped in? What are you, an idiot? I want to throw a hat tip out because I enjoy promoting other creators, content creators, and influencers. Insurrection Barbie put a tweet up about this, debunking this nonsense, that if you cross the border illegally, that somehow you magically found yourself here and it's a civil violation. Yes, being here without the proper documentation, without evidence you crossed the border illegally, is technically a civil violation. Of course you got here crossing the border illegally. That's a crime. Period. Folks, it is up to us. It is up to us. We are the media now. I mean it. I don't mean this hyperbolically as a virtue signal to kiss your ass. You guys are the media now. We won. We beat them. We beat billion-dollar media communist enterprises doing exactly what we're doing now, taking media misinformation and correcting it on platforms bigger than they have. And the combined effort of all of us is bigger than them. I've been dying for someone to give that answer for a long time. You cross the border illegally, you are a criminal. Here was another answer yesterday. The media now all of a sudden is interested in the Biden inflation. They ignored Biden's inflation while Biden was in office to try to cover him so he'd get a Democrat elected, Kamala Harris or Joe Biden prior to him. They ignored the massive effect on Americans' wallets. We hit 9% inflation at one point. What happened under the Biden years with the massive printing of money, chasing a bunch of objects, which led to inflation every freaking time, the media ignored it. just like they always ignore it. Now we're a week in. They want Donald Trump to fix it overnight. We've got a bird flu outbreak. Are eggs expensive? Here, you want to hear the truth? Yes. Is Donald Trump president? Yes. Does Donald Trump have anything to do a week in with eggs being expensive? No. It's not even possible. Watch these media people try to peg down Caroline Leavitt right now. I pin her down here on this, how somehow now a week in, Donald Trump's responsible for 4 years of the Bidenflation. She gives a perfect answer. Great job reframing it by Caroline Leavitt. Do not accept the premise of a stupid question. Watch this.
Christian Day talk.
Thanks, Caroline. Just real quick, you mentioned the inflation executive order the president signed, but egg prices have skyrocketed since President Trump took office. So what specifically is he doing to lower those costs for Americans?
Really glad you brought this up, because there is a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last administration. As far as the egg shortage, what's also contributing to that is that the Biden administration in the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens, which has led to a lack of chicken supply in this country, therefore a lack of egg supply, which is leading to the shortage.
I'm not sure People's Elbow or Karate Man. I'm going People's Elbow. Got to give some love today to Justin. Gave me the People's Elbow card. That's how you give an answer, man. You notice she's not looking down? Hold on. Let me look at my list. Page 7, eggs. Bullet point 6.2. Who just said it? Who said it? Someone at MG Rez, what'd you say? She is an effing pit bull, MJ Rez. You're darn right. Yes, she is. What is this? What's going on here for the Apple Spotify listeners? Rock'em sock'em, kids. These things still have not broken. They have still, you believe it? The Rock'em sock'ems have still not broken. Although the Donald Trump face on one of them is getting a little messed up. We may have to get a backup from all the body slams. Excuse me. That's how it's done. That's how it's done. Folks, do not fall for the egg line, okay? Are eggs expensive? You are correct. Is Donald Trump president? You are correct. Is there a correlation or causal relationship between those two? There's certainly not a causal one. Donald Trump is already committed to bringing down inflation. There is a severe supply shortage with eggs. The media used to report on this stuff when it was Republicans in office, ignored it with Democrats. Now all of a sudden they're interested again in inflation. Fascinating. IMHO, my humble opinion, though, the biggest answer given yesterday from the White House briefing room for a number of reasons was the answer on drones. Got a lot of questions about this. Folks, I'm going to play the answer for you first, obviously. I want to play this segment first, though, however. It's from a News Nation clip. It's this guy being interviewed about the situation with drones and the FAA. And I see two possible scenarios here from the drone answer from Caroline Leavitt, who says it was an FAA basically approved. A lot of these were FAA approved and some of it was recreational. I see two possible solutions. I'll tell you what they are, but I want you to listen to this News Nation interview first, because if this is all FAA approved stuff, then why were there TFRs being violated, temporary flight restrictions? And why did the FAA not exactly come clean on this early? Like many of you, I'm not sure the whole truth is out there. And I'm not telling you Caroline Leavitt's lying to you. I'm just telling you there may be more there that hasn't fully been disclosed yet. Let me play this first, and you'll see what I mean. Check this out.
The FBI has been trying very hard to capture one of these drones. They've been trying to bring them down. They've been trying to find the source, and they've failed. So if somebody from the neighbourhood was putting up just a standard drone, they've been doing it very cleverly because the best resources of the US military and government have been unable to catch them. And that's why people are concerned. They describe objects that are 5 feet wide. In some cases, they appear to be changing their shape. They're doing all sorts of weird, anomalous things, and all the public want is answers because they're concerned, whatever the government says and denies, they want answers and they're concerned that it's a national security issue. And I noticed on the weekend, Senator Schumer, the former Senate Minority Leader, Democrat for New York, he also said the drones are back and he too wants answers. He suggested the new president needs to explain what's really going on.
Yeah.
Folks, I am absolutely certain President Trump, Caroline Leavitt, the entire national security team are committed to your public safety and are committed to get an answer, period. Heard it from people very close to them. They are absolutely committed to this. They want to get you an answer as fast as possible. Does this explain everything that's happening up in the air in New Jersey, around the country, where there have been other drone sightings as well? I don't think so. Something I've said to you often in the past is, and you don't have to like it, but I'm going to tell you it's because it's true. Folks, we don't need to know everything. We don't. Some things I would like to know. Of course, I am not a journalist, but we do put out information and report on stuff. But I've said to you often that there are a couple things best done sometimes behind closed doors. Making love and making war. Sometimes there are negotiations going on behind closed doors to tell foreign adversaries, hey, this is going to stop. And we're going to say this until it does stop. And if it doesn't stop and we have to out you and you're going to force us to take on some political damage, we're going to make this extremely painful for you. I don't believe that's the whole story. Let me play Caroline Leavitt's answer on the drone thing. She came out right in the beginning and said this. And then I'm going to give you some other information which makes this an interesting answer, to say the least. Is someone at the FAA still trying to hide something from the Trump team? Maybe some Biden holdovers? I don't know, but this is very suspicious. Check this out.
After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States to start this briefing with some news. And with that, I will turn it over to questions.
All right, then we've got some explaining to do from people on the inside in the Biden administration. And I'll tell you what I mean coming up next, because the our own Department of Defense back in December, before they left office, gave us an entirely different story. So if that's accurate, and I'm not saying it's not, then I want an investigation of the Biden team, why the Defense Department, the FAA, FBI, DHS, and DOD all seem to be lying to us. A lot going on here. You'll see what I mean coming up next. Quick break. Hey, we may have won this election here, but the fight to restore our great nation is only beginning. Now's the time to take a stand. Patriot Mobile is leading the charge. They're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Patriot Mobile offers a way to vote with your wallet without compromising on quality or convenience. Patriot Mobile isn't just about providing exceptional cell phone service. It's a call to action to defend our rights and freedoms. With Patriot Mobile, you'll get outstanding nationwide coverage because they operate on all 3 major networks. If you have cell phone service today, you can get cell phone service with Patriot Mobile with a coverage guarantee. The difference is every dollar you spend with Patriot Mobile supports a company that believes in the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, and our veterans and first responders. Switching's easy. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% U.S.-based customer support team will help you find the perfect plan. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/Dan or call 972-PATRIOT and get a free month of service with the promo code Dan. Switch to Patriot Mobile today and defend freedom with every call and text you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/Dan or call 972-PATRIOT. Thank you, Patriot Mobile. Make the switch today. I need you in the chat. Everyone in the chat, you ready? I'm going to be looking at your answers here in a second, so you'll see me peek over to my right. Do you guys believe the FAA story? These are all FAA-approved drones, and that explains everything. Yes, I do. No, I don't. I'm just interested. Is Bot Gino there? I would love to kind of get a account on who believes it and who doesn't. I'm going to tell you I'm skeptical. Wow, that's a lot of no's and F. Wow. You got to tell you, I didn't expect that. I expected it more to be like 60-40 yes, not almost. It looks, what do you think, guys? Almost 95% no? No, not completely. Yeah. I think no, not completely is probably right. The naughty vegan. Nope, the naughty vegan. And I am Mom Bear too. Hell no. Gina of the Carolinas. No. Mustang Hill. No. Yeah, I am. I'm not sure that's the whole story, folks. And again, we don't need to know everything. I get that. But it doesn't explain this. Here is a Department of Defense release from December 14th of last year. Just over a month ago. Okay, 2024, but, just over a month ago. Joint Staff addresses drones over New Jersey military installation. They know right now the FBI, DHS, FAA, and DOD have been unable to determine who's responsible for flying the drones. The FAA is in the opening sentence there in this thing, of the sentence we cited here. And there's no indication adversary nations are involved. Well, hold on, leave this up, please. I don't understand. This is what I didn't get. And I call me crazy, folks, for asking questions. And please prove me wrong. If they've been, quote, unable to determine who's responsible, then how do they know there's no indication it's adversary nations? This is what I just don't understand. We don't know who it is, but it's not that guy. It's like, who's at the front door? I don't know, but it's definitely not the guy selling pickles. Well, how do you know? You don't know who's at the door. I don't know. I'm guessing. It goes on. Here, it gets even worse. This is last month. To date, we have no intelligence or observations that would indicate that they were aligned with a foreign actor or had malicious intent, the spokesperson said. It goes on, but we don't know. We've not been able to locate or identify the operators or the point of origin. Guys, listen, it's my job is clear as a broadcaster and someone reporting on the stories of the day. I got to give you the truth. But wow, what that is, I'm going to tell you, Bot Gino, thank you. The great Bot Gino. I'm going to tell you, 1,800 votes, so that's a lot. I'm pretty blown away by it. I did not expect that at all. Not even close. 96.7% don't believe that's the whole story. 3% do. I think somebody's keeping something from the Trump team, or if the Trump team knows it's something that they have to handle behind closed doors, folks, that's okay. That's okay too, as long as I know they're handling it. You may disagree. I want to know. I don't need to know everything if they're handling it behind closed doors and we can be assured they're handling it. But the story's they're totally conflicting statements. All right, moving on, because I could spend all day on this. I've been obsessed with this drone story because I've written books on the threat from the sky, both to Secret Service, with our FBI, our national security, and everything. And I think there's a lot more coming on this on the future. I don't think that's the end of it. I skipped this story because I got too excited about the drone thing. And luckily, Justin corrected me and said, bro, put all this work, cutting together all these segments. You're going to get this in there. This was huge news yesterday. Thank you, Caroline Leavitt and the Donald Trump team, for promises made, promises kept. Do you guys remember during the campaign, they said, we are opening up the White House press room. The White House Media Association people over there lost their minds. We don't need podcasters and influencers. We don't give a shit. We're old media. We're in charge. You're not in charge. This is a Bain moment. Do you feel like you're in charge? Because you're not. We're in charge now. We're the media. North-south position. It's actually, if you know how to use it in jiu-jitsu, it can be, but it can get ugly. It can get ugly fast. North-south position, if you find yourself that on the bottom in jiu-jitsu, you're going to wonder why you started playing jiu-jitsu. Right, Michael? You're like, how did this happen? How did this happen? We're in charge now. So Caroline Leavitt said this yesterday at the White House press podium. They are going to dedicate 2 seats for the people who are really the media now influencers, podcasters, and people in the new digital space that are dominating the messaging wars. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, White House Press Office. Thank you, President Trump. Promises made, promises kept. Take a listen.
We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House.
Yes! Thank you, Trump team. Some of you may have caught it on the radio show yesterday where the great producer Jim Verde, who we love, oh, look at that. I didn't even put that in the show. Producer Jim, you watching the show right now? He's like, no, I can't watch it. Yeah, he's watching it. He's like, no, I'm producing your show. No, he's just applied to be the Dan Bongino Show White House correspondent at JJ Verde. That is the great producer Jim, fills in for me sometimes with Evita on the radio. I just asked Michael as well. I don't know if you heard. I don't know. I'm assuming the mic's not live in it. But I'm going to have Evita, if she's interested, apply as well. I would like no one better than Evita and Jim both to maybe once every few months get that seat. I mean, we are the largest live stream podcast, one of the biggest radio shows. It's just a fact. It's not a humble brag. It's just true. So you want to get a message to the MAGA audience. You know, we're only 20 minutes in. We got 125,000 of them right here. There's no better way to do it. So we did apply, and we'll see what happens. And we'll get to ask a bunch of the questions. And you know what? You know what would be great? To crowdsource the questions from the MAGA sphere here. Wouldn't that be awesome? Get a bunch of suggestions. So thank you, Caroline Levitt and President Trump, for sticking to your word and doing the right thing, not the easy thing. All right, going to take a quick break, and here's what I got coming up. Folks, Tucker did an interview with a great journalist, Matt Taibbi. I do not trust Biden holdovers are giving the Trump team all of the honest information right now. I just don't. And one of the things I'm extremely suspicious of, and what I'm hoping Kash Patel can get accomplished at FBI, is, folks, what the hell is going on with the Trump assassination attempts and the complete media blackout on who these guys were? There's something big going on there, and they just refuse to report on it. And Taibbi said that the Trump people on the inside are getting really pissed off about this, and I hope they are. I got that coming up next. A big show. Also, the pushback against John Bolton's security detail, a lot more. Helix Sleep. January's almost over, so is your chance to save with Helix mattresses while getting the best sleep of your life. You know, after being away on trips, I always, this is in this spot, but I can tell you this is an absolute fact. I always look forward to coming home to my own mattress. I don't like hotel beds anymore. I like my Helix Midnight Lux mattress. It's my second one. It's hard to sleep on anything else. It's like sleeping on a cloud. I sleep deeply throughout the night, and I always had problems sleeping before. I wake up rested and refreshed. Helix knows everyone's unique, from the position you sleep in to your body type, and Helix will recommend the right mattress for you. So many of my listeners are going with the mattress from Helix and getting the best sleep of their lives. And right now, Helix has an amazing offer. Go to HELIX, helixsleep.com/Dan. HelixSleep.com/Dan for 20% off site-wide plus 2 free Dream pillows with a mattress purchase. That's HelixSleep.com/Dan for 20% off site-wide plus 2 free Dream pillows with a mattress purchase. HelixSleep.com/Dan. And our last sponsor before we get back to that Tucker interview, folks, I used to wake up sore from head to toe. Now I'm feeling great. Why? Change my pillow to MyPillow. You'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. Gets even better for a limited time. They're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Queen size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to King for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88. Multi-use pillows, $9.88. They're sure you'll be satisfied. They offer a 10-year warranty, a 60-day money-back guarantee. All orders over $75 ship absolutely free. MyPillow's offering an amazing deal on their classic MyPillow collection. So go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio podcast square. Or call 800-637-4982 or go to MyPillow.com. Use promo code Dan to get these unbelievable offers. Once again, that's 800-637-4982 or go to MyPillow.com. Use promo code Dan. Don't lose another night of good sleep. So important. Thank you, MyPillow. We appreciate it. All right. Another answer, in addition to this drone thing, I would be hesitant to accept from any Biden holdovers, if that's what happened. I'm not telling you, but if that's what happened, is anything on the Trump assassination attempts. Ladies and gentlemen, it makes no sense that we know basically the entire background of people involved in school shootings and everywhere else when there's some kind of political point to be made out of dead bodies, which is disgusting in and of itself. Yet we have two people, one who tried and another one who shot the president of the United States in the head. And it's amazing. We know absolutely nothing about them. There's no social media history, anything. Folks, there is something here they're hiding. Now, for those of you who don't understand how this process works, having worked in this space for many years, there is this thing. Everybody ready? This is the educational portion of today's show. Edutainment, we love it. MOUs, you have to know what that is. It's a memorandum of understanding. It's basically an official memo between agencies about what their understanding is going to be on an issue. The Secret Service has an MOU with the FBI. If there is an assassination attempt, the Secret Service does not investigate it. Why? Because there's a conflict of interest. There was a feeling that the Secret Service may want to cover up if there was some kind of an issue. So what the Secret Service does at an assassination scene like they had in Butler is they secure the crime scene because they're already there. So it makes sense for them to secure the crime scene. But the FBI actually conducts the investigation. Now, the problem is a lot of people don't trust the FBI. They have done very little to, at least at the management level, to earn our trust between all of the scandals at the FBI and the fact that we still don't have information about the shooter and this other situation in West Palm Beach says to me that something's being hidden right here. Here's Matt Taibbi, a great journalist. He did a Tucker interview here on the suspicious lack of answers. And I have the not so subtle drift and feeling here that in addition to the January 6th pipe bomber, the FBI knows a whole lot about who this person is and who he may have been working with. And they just don't want to tell us. Check this out.
Then there's the whole question of the investigation of the Trump assassination incidents. We heard nothing about that. It was the most extraordinary news story that I've ever, apart from the disappearing president and the mysterious nomination and COVID, presidential candidate and ex-president gets shot and the story's dead within like 48 hours. And all you read in the news from the FBI, there are these comments saying that they don't have any motive evidence. We've done 100 interviews, but we don't know anything about why this happened or, what was going on there. Do you believe that? I have a very hard time believing that there's nothing interesting.
He was kind of your classic 20-year-old American kid with no social media presence whatsoever, ever.
Right.
Just,
yes, exactly.
And it is a very typical American story where one day you just wake up and decide to die assassinating a presidential candidate for no reason.
Right. It's like
who has like
your first joint. Yeah.
Your first joint. Yeah.
And then the second one. I mean, the Ryan Routh thing. That's not weird at all. Like, I just flew into Florida last night. I don't think I could have gotten my hands on, a Chinese-made SKS semi-automatic rifle without help. I mean, I don't know. That's being a little conspiratorial, but look, there were a lot of...
He met with members of Congress. He lived in Ukraine.
Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, who is this absolute tool bag in the chat? Joe Ragu? Dan always defends corrupt cops. Listen, we're free speech people, so please allow Joe to speak. Joe, you are a freaking moron. You should definitely try some of that Prevagen or fish oil to prevent your stupid, non-functioning neurons in your brain. You're probably one of these anonymous deep state lib accounts trying to stir up shit in our chat room, which is fine. I'm a free speech guy. Again, we don't ban you for saying dumb stuff. The thing about free speech is you're free to be stupid. I just wish you weren't so stupid in the chat room, Joe Ragu. Nobody, and I mean not a single podcaster out there, is focused more on FBI malfeasance and reforming this corruption at the top than this show. So I don't know what show you're listening to, or just maybe you're too stupid. Maybe mom and dad were dumb and they passed their dumb genes down to you, and you're now passing them on to our chat. But Joe Ragu, you are a moron. You don't listen to this show. You're clearly here to stir stuff up, and should thank the Lord that I'm a free speech advocate, because most people wouldn't put up with stupid like that. Folks, nobody is focused more on FBI malfeasance and me. And my suspicion here, I'm just going to throw this out there that, granted, I'm speculating. But I'm speculating based on, again, data points and sourcing on the matter. I think specifically the Butler incident where Donald Trump was shot in the head by that young man, it may have been some type of honeypot situation. I'm not sure. I need to get to the bottom of it myself. I'm going to make sure other people do. But I think it may have been a honeypot situation, and I'm not sure who was on the other side of that, using maybe women or other people to get this guy the logistics and everything he needed to get over there. It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. It's one of those situations, just like the FBI pipe bomb situation, where they seem to be really interested in the beginning in finding out who it was. And as they found out who it was, all of a sudden the investigation got shut down. Folks, I'm not sure, again, that right now the Secret Service is pushing correctly to get this information out there too. They have an interest in getting this out there to prevent this kind of thing from happening again. We need the leadership there to get moving on this stuff fast. We don't have any time. Speaking of protection, this has turned into another one of those media situations. I mean, media people who absolutely hated John Bolton forever now all of a sudden are concerned about John Bolton's security. They're frauds. By the way, I'm concerned about John Bolton's security. I'm concerned about Mike Pompeo's security. I'm concerned about Brian Hook's security. I dislike their political positions. I categorically do not want to see anything happen to them. However, Donald Trump, I believe, made the right decision. We cannot keep security details for life for all these people. We just can't. She was asked about this yesterday. I'm going to suggest something here. If the Trump team wants to take it, they don't have to take mine. What do they need my advice for? But I have an idea here. Okay, I have an idea. And it's the same way they deal with threats to United States attorneys when they investigate mob cases. They don't get security for life either. And they're at probably far greater threat. Play this cut first, and I'll tell you my suggestion. Check this out.
On stripping security details for figures like John Bolton, Pompeo, Brian Hook, Senator Tom Cotton said that he's seen the intelligence and the threat from Iran is real for anyone who played a role in the Soleimani strike. He voiced concern it wouldn't just impact those individuals, but potentially their family, innocent bystanders, friends, anyone who's near them when they're out in public. Is the president open to reconsidering his decision?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday, and he was firm in his decision despite some of the comments that you had referenced. And he's made it very clear that he does not believe American taxpayers should fund security details for individuals who have served in the government for the rest of their lives. And there's nothing stopping these individuals that you mentioned from obtaining private security. That's where the president stands on it. I have no updates on it.
Now, I don't know if people in the House, the White House, listen to this or not. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about my voice. I promise you, I feel fantastic. I'm really apologetic. I know sound effects are not what we need, but I have to do my show. I can't stay hidden because someone got sick a couple weeks ago, and it's not happening. Here's how you fix this right away. Caroline Leavitt or someone, I don't know if it's someone from DOJ, they have different spokesmen at different places, should come out tomorrow and say, just like United States attorneys, those are basically government prosecutors. They're like DAs for the federal government. They prosecute mob people and terrorists all the time. They get threats you wouldn't believe. I've seen them. I told you I got threats on a case I worked out of Baltimore. You put out a statement, an official statement from the Trump administration, saying and naming these three individuals and anyone else. And you basically say, if a hair on their head is harmed, that you will come hell or high water. You will make sure anybody who threatens, harms, attempts to harm, talks about harming any American official from any administration, by the way, from any administration. I don't care that from any administration that did something in the name of the United States government, and you are a foreign adversary or terrorist who is going to threaten them, that we are going to make sure that we come after you, your family members' neighbors, your family members, uncles, neighbors, dog. It is never, ever going to stop. Folks, when the drug cartels killed Kiki Camarena, a horrible story I encourage you to read if you have the stomach for it, and tortured him, a DEA agent, American hero, the United States government overturned every single rock to make sure that they found every one of those people. And believe me, it sent a message. If I were the White House, that's what I would do. That's what I would do. I would get that on the record early. You guys may think I'm crazy. Oh, here, who said it? Tanamir in the chat. Show them a picture of their house. That's it. Thank you, Tanamir. That's what you do. I don't like any of these people, okay? It has nothing to do with it. You can't have people in the government who are doing things in the name of the United States government. I'm not talking about illegal things, by the way, but making government decisions who have the Iranians then threatening them with impunity. It'll happen to the Trump family next. You can't have that. We can't give people security for life either. What do? You put out a statement, we will kill every single person involved with this terrorist thing. We will track you down wherever you go. Can't really say that, but you can make it clear. They got to do it, and I would do it quick and put this thing to bed. My suggestion, take it if you want. Just my advice and my 134,000 listeners right now. I want to address this tweet, too. This is a story I got a lot of feedback on yesterday, switching gears a little bit. Folks, this AI story out of China, why didn't I address it yesterday? Because, again, the Bongino rule. I am deeply involved in the tech space from investments of mine. They're all public. They're publicly traded companies. You can look it up. They're not small. I am invested in this tech space because I believe in it. We are involved in a number of different things at Rumble, a company I've invested pretty heavily in. We are involved in some things tech-wise that I've had explained to me. Some came pretty easy. But folks, artificial intelligence is not going anywhere. It is the future. So China came out with this splashy press release through a hedge fund in China that pushed this AI program out there called DeepSeek, and all of a sudden it upended the whole market. It's very complicated what happened, but the messaging I want to distill down to this. DeepSeek is saying, and this Chinese hedge fund, which of course, the CCP probably has to approve a lot of this, I would assume, is saying, look at you idiots who spent $100 million, $1 billion on developing AI. We spent $5 million and we got a better program. So there's an interesting tweet up there I'd encourage you to check out by @PalmerLucky, because a lot of this is true. It says DeepSeek is legitimately impressive, but the level of hysteria is an indictment of so many. Yes, this is why I waited and applied the Bongino rule and did not get into the hysteria. Oh my gosh, it's all over. China beat us. Bullshit. Number one, the $5 million number they spent to develop it is most likely total bullshit. Okay? We don't know what money was flushed in behind the scenes. These companies do not have books like American publicly traded companies do. You have no idea. I think, leave this up for me if you would for a second. Do you think it's an accident they waited for what? Monday or Tuesday after Donald Trump is inaugurated? You think it's an accident that then they released this thing to try to make them look stupid and crush the stock market? Come on, man. You think China's our buddy? They're terrified of Trump. They note that DeepSeek's pushed by a Chinese hedge fund to slow investment in American AI and service their own shorts. In other words, if they shorted the stock, they make a fortune off this. America's a fertile bed for psyops like this because our media hates Donald Trump and tech companies. It's so true. They're dying to write a story. Chinese Communist Party beats capitalist pig America. That's what they want to write. He writes, we have so many useful idiots uncritically reporting Chinese propaganda as fact because they want it to be true. They love seeing hundreds of $billions wiped off the market cap of our largest companies because they get to knock off the tech companies that are now supporting Donald Trump, and they get to knock off Donald Trump by saying, look at the stock market crash since the orange man got in office. Do not accept this story at face value, folks. There's a distinct possibility that DeepSeek and these similar type programs are basically just stealing information off already established AI programs we built here in the United States. Kind of like the globe profits off our investment in medicine here. All I'm asking you to do is hold on this story. There are some very smart people. I had a very long conversation with Chris, the CEO of Rumble, the brightest tech guy I know. This guy, and there is no way this story is true on its face. Everybody hold on China and AI. Most of that story is probably bullshit. Propaganda. Yeah, it should be 100% a psyop. I'm reading the chat here. Sorry, I enjoy what you guys always have to say. Folks, we are the media now, okay? We are the media now. I need all of you to understand that. What has two thumbs and is in charge of the media now? You've got him to this guy. What has two index fingers? That guy right there watching my show. I need your help here on something too. For 4 years, we're going to be doing this. It's going to be a lot of work. But it's up to you. Up to you and up to us to use our email lists, our X profiles, our True Social profiles, our Facebook profiles. And yes, I have been getting a lot of your screenshots. And I have been reporting back to people about what appears to be some continued Facebook fact checking. I told you I'd stay on it, and I am. So thank you for the information. I'm putting it all together. So I need you to debunk something here. The media thinks they have a story now. Now, we're the media and we can crush them, so we got to get busy crushing this conspiracy theory right away. Donald Trump and his administration put out basically a memo saying we are going to be reviewing grants to NGOs, these non-government organizations, for money that was tried to be flushed out the door by Biden for the last minute. Of course, the Democrats and the media ran with this immediately as a conspiracy theory. Donald Trump was cutting off Social Security money and Medicare and all this other stuff. Here is hack goon communist Senator Chris Murphy doing exactly that. Of course, this is all a lie, and I need you to crush this immediately like the bloodbath hoax, but watch this first.
So last night, Donald Trump announced that he was going to implement a shutoff to virtually all federal funding in this country. Let me tell you why that really matters. First, it matters to you and your family and your community. That means that police officers don't get federal funding. That means firefighters don't get federal funding. That means your schools that your kids go to don't get their federal funding. That means nursing homes are shut off from funding. This is an immediate crisis for our kids, for public safety, for our seniors, for our healthcare system. And why?
Hold on. You guys know what I'm doing in the chat? What am I doing, guys? I am updating our new list of media hoaxes board. Oh, you went to the two-shot camera? We never did that. Hoax number 3. We're only a week. Guys, we're going to need some more boards. I mean, seriously. Wow, look at that. It comes up pretty nice. First, Elon is a Nazi. Second, Chicago, ICE raids in schools. Third, Trump shut off all federal funding. Guys, ladies, we're only a week in. Chris Murphy is a moron. Here is from the EOP, Executive Office of the President, Office of Management and Budget. Question, Q&A. Is this a freeze on benefits to Americans like SNAP or student loans? No. Does that say no? Yes, it says no. Are you sure it says no? Yes, I'm reading it again. No. In a couple different languages. No, niet, no. Any program that provides direct benefits to Americans, if you are getting a benefit, you're not affected, is explicitly excluded from the pause and exempted from the review process. I don't know what else. I don't know what else to tell you. Crush it, just like you've crushed the laptop hoax, the bloodbath hoax, the very fine people hoax. I need you to get to work on this and make sure this little screenshot. By the way, there's what's that account? There is a Rapid Response 47 Twitter feed. Gosh, I got to find it. I followed it yesterday. Forgive me. I should be better. I'm going to find it right now. Hold on one second. Rapid. Here it is. I need you guys to follow this. Everybody write this down. I'm going to give you a second. It's really important. It's at Rapid Response 47. You will get all of this information. That is the rapid response team to the hoaxes for obviously 47, Donald Trump's administration now. At Rapid Response 47. I followed them yesterday. There you go, right there. Official Rapid Response account of Trump 47's White House. Please follow it today at Rapid Response 47. I would guess they're on True Social as well. Please follow it. Make sure you don't let any of this stuff, the concrete harden. Chris Murphy's lying, making that up. He knows because why the left lies, folks. Everything they do is a lie. They either lie, they do three things. They either lie, they play dumb, or they are dumb. There's no option four. They do this all the time. And one of the best guys at exposing this, a guy who's become a real internet celebrity lately, is Scott Jennings over at CNN. How CNN has not fired this guy yet, I don't know. He continues to humiliate all of their contributors on the air. I guess he's good for ratings. It's probably the only reason they keep him there. But here's Scott Jennings again, correcting one of these idiots, a Maria Cardona on the air, who appears completely unaware that the Department of Justice falls in the executive branch of our government. And she's a talking head on CNN. Watch Scott Jennings' face. He's like, do you guys even understand how the Constitution works? Check this out.
The Department of Justice does not work for the president.
Yes,
the Department of Justice works for the American people.
No, it works for the executive branch. It's in the Constitution. It exists in the executive branch.
The lawyers of the Justice Department work for the American people.
You're acting like it's an independent branch of government. It's in the executive branch, run by the president.
I mean, but the lawyers of the Justice Department work for the American people, not for the president of the United States, not the person in the office.
So you don't think anyone in the executive branch is bound to the head of the executive branch?
No. Here's the difference. Here's the difference.
Folks, how many times I got to tell you this about the left? They're either lying, playing stupid, or they are stupid. This lady may be genuinely dumb, so I'm not sure. The Department of Justice works in the executive branch of the government, headed by our commander-in-chief, the President of the United States. Saying ridiculously on the air, a tautology, by the way, saying they work for everybody works for the American people. We're a government by the people, for the people. Yes, but in a constitutional republic, we select a president who makes decisions about the Department of Justice and elsewhere. We are not a direct democracy. We're not a democracy. Does everybody in the chat know that? We are not a direct democracy. We vote for a president who has people who work for him. He enacts an agenda the people voted for, who voted him in. And he makes the decisions. We don't vote on every issue. It's not a plebiscite. It's not a direct democracy. Does this lady not know that? Almost comical, by the way, that the Biden DOJ goes after Donald Trump. They have no problem with that. And yet Donald Trump makes some decisions about the Department of Justice, and the left is in a full meltdown. By the way, you want to smile a little bit today? I'm sorry. I know. Justin's like, if you get off the air, this is media malpractice if you get off the air without this. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the worst anti-Trump vile lunatics out there. And a guy who is genuinely stupid. I said they lie, they're dumb, or they play them. A guy who's genuinely stupid is Jim Acosta. He has made a career out of playing stupid. Jim Acosta, I don't know what happened with him in CNN. Was he let go? Did he quit? I have no idea. I never know with these media people. I don't really care. All I know is if on a network with no ratings, you can't cut it, then I don't know what else. How bad can it possibly be? No one watches CNN anyway, so if no one watches you, you'd fit right in. Here's Jim Acosta signing off the air at CNN in one of the great moments in Dan Bongino's show history. Ladies and gentlemen, check this out.
It's never a good time to bow down to a tyrant. I've always believed it's the job of the press to hold power to account. I've always tried to do that here at CNN, and I plan on doing all of that in the future. One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear. Hold on to the truth and to hope. Even if you have to get out your phone, record that message. I will not give in to the lies. I will not give in to the fear. Post it on your social media so people can hear from you too. I'll have more to say about my plans in the coming days, but until then, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. It has been an honor to be welcomed into your home for all these years. That's the news. Reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta.
Well, actually, you're not reporting from Washington anymore. I love this guy. I will not give in to the lies. I will only propagate them. There has been no one pushing a bigger bread basket of lies than this clown for the longest time. I'm telling you right now, I'll put my own reputation on it. This guy will absolutely fail in what he does next. There is zero, he will. I don't wish anybody ill will. If you want to follow this idiot, go right ahead. There is zero chance there's an audience for his content when he's out there on his own. He'll get a Substack or whatever. He'll get a few subscribers here or there. There is no way this guy blows up and becomes like a big thing because he's just not talented.